Oh, hair's sticking up.
Well, here we are, apparently live. It's unclear. Maybe now we're live. Okay. This is Just Be Well, the channel about whole life living. And today we are talking about nutrition and immunity. And I'm Tom Sult, a medical doctor and functional medicine practitioner.
I'm Elizabeth, a registered nurse.
And she's also our health coach, and she is apparently very worried about her hair right now.
It's sticking up, okay? It's like yours sometimes.
Yeah, me and alfalfa.
I'm trying not to be distracting, so I'll just go like this. And I have a beard.
Yeah, there you go. Now you have a beard. So anyway, we're talking about nutrition and immunity. I posted a paper in the family room here about nutrition and immunity and how we are frankly overcaloried and undernourished. I also, one of my friends posted here in the family room a paper about nutrition and COVID-19. Mm-hmm. Now, just to be clear, there is no nutritional cure for COVID-19, but there are strategies that can make sure that your immune system is ready to go and that you are not overprimed for inflammation. Because one of the deadly things that happens in COVID-19 is that certain illnesses like diabetes and heart disease and hypertension seem to prime you for the disease, and you get what's called cytokine or bradykinin storm, which results in this devastating storm of inflammation that leads to intensive care unit admission, ventilator, and possibly death. So how can we prevent that? Well, unfortunately, the standard American diet, the SAD diet, the SAD diet, leads to the standard American death, which is unfortunately also abbreviated SAD. So SAD leads to SAD, which kind of makes sense.
It's a pro-inflammatory diet.
Exactly. It's a pro-inflammatory diet. What makes it a pro-inflammatory diet?
All of the processed foods. Our diets statistically lack those whole foods. Even if there are bits and pieces of whole foods in them, they are highly processed. There's added sugars. There's added soy, there's added corn, all these inflammatory foods, or I like to call them substances.
Yeah, food-like substances. They're not really foods. It's like getting artificial imitation ice cream. In the post that I put on this morning, there is a little link to a page for the Forks Over Knives movement, and there's a video on that page that talks about the breakdown of our standard American diet, the way people actually eat, not the pyramid, not any of the government recommendations, but the way we actually eat. And the way we actually eat is that about 26%, 26% is meat products, and then about 12% is vegetable products, and half of that 12% French fries. So only about 6% of our diet is coming from fresh or frozen fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and whole grains. That's dismal. It should be more like 50%. 50%. So we're, 44% deficient in those things. So it's a huge problem that's only growing. I mean, we try hard to eat very well around here. When we cook, and you do most of the cooking, but I help. When we cook really healthy food. It's big, heavy duty, pegan, as Dr. Hyman likes to call it. It's primarily vegetables, right? And yet, even the kids who come here, whether they're your kids or their friends, it's junk food. And, we try to bar it at the door, but, they smuggle it in. So
They do. And I think when they come over, they know they're not going to find any of that here. So they bring it in bags.
Yeah. And we find the litter of Mountain Dew in the in the basement, and that's just reality, right? And it is an uphill battle to fight the cultural norm of grabbing fast food. It is an uphill battle to fight the norm of grabbing the frozen snack foods, but it's imperative to your nutrition. So, what's the difference? What's a macronutrient versus a micronutrient? What does that even mean?
What does that mean?
Okay, you know exactly what it means. So, a macronutrient is protein, carbohydrate, and fat. So, those are the macronutrients. And so, any one of those three can be good or bad, right? So, a simple carbohydrate is not good, and a highly refined carbohydrate is not good. So what is that? That's white flour, it's sugar, it's things like that. But a complex carbohydrate might be a whole grain or a whole vegetable. That's good. A protein can be good or bad as well. And then a fat can be good or bad as well. So a good fat would be a plant-based fat, a fish fat. A bad fat would be a fat that has been laying around and become rancid. If you smell a meat, or you smell a fat in your cupboard, or if you smell your French fries, and sometimes they do smell kind of rancid, that is a very unhealthy fat. And then trans fats are the most unhealthy fats that you're likely to find. So that's macronutrients. Micronutrients, those are vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients. And the truth is, the human diet is not actually fully characterized. And what do I mean by that? I mean that, like, if we are trying to grow cells in culture, we have to add complex elements like bovine serum or something like that to get them to grow. You can't just put in a defined, this many of this vitamin and that vitamin, the other vitamin, and this mineral and that mineral. They won't grow. You got to put in serum for them to grow. So there are elements of our nutrition that we actually don't even understand. And that's why a wide, complex nutrient diet is so important. And then what we choose to eat influences the microbiome.
And variety is really key, even when it comes down to the fats and oils. I think we've all heard that olive oil is great for you, and it is. But if you saw the picture I posted from supper last night, I used avocado oil, and we use flaxseed oil. We like to
grapeseed oil,
and we use grass-fed butter, coconut oil. And the variety is the key. You need to be using a variety of oils, because olive oil is great. And yes, use it, but you don't want to just be using olive oil. And, when you were talking about the standard American diet and fast food, that meal that was made last night was made in less than 30 minutes. Because the meatballs were pre-made, and the vegetables, we simply chop them up and stir-fried them. And even if you have minimal time, you can buy bags of frozen vegetables. Yes, fresh is better, but you really want to make the best possible. You want to set yourself up for success.
Yep.
So frozen vegetables last a lot longer. You're not going to go in your drawer in the fridge and discover that your vegetable that you're going to prepare for supper started growing extra things on it.
Science experiments.
Yeah, so that's why it's great to also, we usually have one freezer full of just frozen vegetables.
So we go to the store and we buy fresh, and we eat those first.
Yep.
But, we try to go to the store.
Or we sprinkle them in with some of the other things too.
Absolutely. Like, we will invariably chop things that last longer. So fresh onions, or, not frozen, but whatever, fresh dried onions, just a regular bulb onion, and a pepper, because peppers last a long time too. Cauliflower lasts a long time, but other things don't last as long. And so we eat that stuff first, right? But then we try to go to the store only every couple of weeks because it's a financial thing. Studies show that if you shop less frequently, you spend less money, and there's less waste.
And when you're more calculated like that, when
Yep.
you know you're going, you just automatically prepare yourself better, and you're less likely when you're filling your cart. I should post a picture of my cart
Yeah,
from Monday.
it's ridiculous.
When you're filling your cart full of all those good things, you
for
don't
three
have,
boys that eat
yeah.
like garbage trucks. I mean, not that
And
they eat
another
badly, but
boy
they eat it.
that he's-
Yeah, and a big boy. So 4 boys that are eating like their food's going out of style.
Yep. There's less room for, those problematic foods, which I don't even buy. I honestly don't even buy them because I know my willpower when it comes to that stuff is 0. So if I don't have it in my home, especially in the winter, it's a lot harder for me to go rummage around and try to find somebody that...
I can resist all things except temptation.
Right.
Temptation's hard.
So.
Right? So just don't be tempted.
Right.
Just don't have it in the house.
Yeah, and so healthy eating doesn't have to take you, I think sometimes we think of it as, in some meals, the preparation, I do spend 3 or 4 hours in the kitchen, but,
As part of your joyous movement.
as part of my
Like we
my
talked about
joyous
yesterday.
movement. Yeah.
And our joyous movement. You know what? Sometimes we rock up the music and we might even dance a little bit, or more likely I'm going to get in her way. But I try to dance with her a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. So those are micronutrients. And one of the undefined micronutrients that are so important are phytonutrients. Phyto, not dog, but phyto meaning plant.
Colorful.
We don't want you eating your dog. Phytonutrients are plant nutrients. And color. That's right. Eat the rainbow. And Skittles don't count.
Right.
So eat the rainbow. And the idea here is that these phytonutrients, like you've probably heard of resveratrol or other nutrients that you can buy in the store. Well, those come from our food. And also in our fruits and vegetables are fibers, insoluble fibers that are prebiotic substances for our microbiome. And our microbiome is really critical to our immune function. It's the first line of defense. Before a bug, an invading microbe, even gets to a human cell, it encounters the microbiome, the teeming ecology of microorganisms that form a protective biofilm layer on our mucosal surfaces, starting at the tip of our nose and going all the way to the other end.
And I think we've all heard a lot about probiotics, but prebiotics don't have as much time in the limelight, so to say, but they are so important because probiotics actually don't colonize in your gut. They're great for symptomatic control, and they are good to take, but the prebiotics is what helps your microbiome to grow with that healthy bacteria. So prebiotics are really key to growing your own diverse microbiome.
In fact, I will tell you that currently in the functional medicine community of the teachers of functional medicine and the big players of functional medicine doctors in the industry today, they use probiotics therapeutically for specific things, but their real emphasis is on prebiotics. Prebiotics are the fertilizer, and if you think of the movie, I don't know what's the baseball movie. If you build it, they will come. Field of Dreams. If you provide probiotics, good bacteria will grow. And I have to say this again: we don't all have terrible posture. This is a wide-angle lens, and we're trying to look like we're straight up. So I'm leaned over at about a 40-degree angle right now.
I should sit like this, but then it'll tweak my back for the day, and then so I'm sorry. It looks like I'm slouching, but I'm not.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. But anyway, these prebiotics are really, really important. So far we've talked about healthy macronutrients, healthy micronutrients, and lots of prebiotics. Now, what are the nutrients that people are commonly deficient in? Fiber is number one. So, what do you do to get more fiber?
Vegetables, fruit,
Yeah.
apples are a great source of fiber.
Yep. Onions, garlic,
Broccoli.
apples, broccoli, cauliflower. I think I said onions, but I'll say it again. So, the good healthy vegetables, right? And most of us, when we say, "Did you have your vegetables?" They say, "Yes, I had vegetables. I had peas, carrots, and corn." And what'd you have the next day? Peas, carrots, and corn. And what about the next day? Peas, carrots, and corn. That's not variety.
No,
Variety
that's
is
not variety.
lots and lots of stuff, right? So that's fiber, the number one deficient. And why is that important? Microbiome. Microbiome.
Helps
And if
everything
you
grow.
Google microbiome, thousands of scientific papers about the importance of the microbiome will come up. And it's critically important to the development and function of the immune system, the detoxification system, the hormone system, all of it.
And there's so many things that alter our microbiome. So we really need to be priming it with the best ingredients possible.
Yep.
Because everything from stress to medications, antibiotics, illnesses, different bugs, they can alter it and really, start that cascade domino effect of symptoms.
The next broad category of deficiency for many people is minerals. Because we're eating processed foods, many of the minerals have been stripped out. And then when they fortify them or enrich them, they take out, like, I forgot the number, but it's a ridiculous number. It's like they take out 70 nutrient compounds and they put back in like 12, right? That's fortified. Well, don't help me out with your fortification. Just give me the whole food. So, and that's what we're really building to. We're building to a whole foods diet, but
A real food diet, basically.
a
Whole
real
food is real food.
Yep.
You want to eat real food.
Yep.
And your body knows what to do with it. If you're looking at the back of your ingredient label and you can't pronounce the words, your body does not know what to do with those substances.
If you don't know what to do with the word, your body probably doesn't know what to do
No.
with substance. So minerals. Well, what's important about minerals? Well, calcium obviously is important for your bones, and magnesium is involved in, I don't know, a zillion different things.
Relaxation is one of them.
Yep. And so very good point. And relaxation, not being relaxed, inhibits the immune system. And then zinc. Zinc is really important for the immune system. And then another category of things that are often deficient. In my practice, when I measure a B12, if somebody comes into my office, a new patient, they're not on any supplements, and even if they are on a multivitamin, like, Centrum or something over the counter that has a little trivial amount of B12, they're B12 deficient functionally. So the normal value is, say, 20 to 100, but most authorities in the B12 world think that probably 50 to 100 is the optimal range. Some people would even say 50 to 120 or even 60 to 120. And most of my patients are well below 40, often below 20 when we do an initial evaluation of their did I say B12? I meant to say, all of this discussion is actually about vitamin D. If I've been saying,
you did say B12.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with me, but vitamin D. So very commonly deficient is vitamin D. And vitamin D is now emerging in the literature to suggest it is a major player in preventing and mitigating the severity of COVID-19.
Right, and it's always been a major player in a lot of illnesses.
Yes.
Or diseases as
MS as an example, multiple sclerosis. The further
Certain
away from the
cancers.
equator you get, the more multiple sclerosis there is. Certain cancers, absolutely. And
Influenza.
Yep, influenza. In fact, we have a protocol for treating influenza in the early stages with very high doses of vitamin D. So there's all of these nutrient deficiencies that are caused because you're not on a real diet, a real food diet, as she put it. So what is a real food diet? What does that even mean?
Real food diet, what I like to go by is, half a dozen ingredients or less. So even if you do buy, let's say you're buying some sort of, lentils or pasta, you really want to look at the ingredients to make sure, okay, is it fortified or is it coming from the whole food? Is it just red lentils? Is it just chickpeas? Is it just whole wheat flour.
So-
Things like, so I'm starting with grains because those are typically the ones it's like, okay, those are important to have in our diet as well. But those are the ones that are more likely highly processed, especially if you buy bread from your grocery store. You probably notice that if you leave it on your counter for 3 weeks, nothing happens to it. And
Which is
that
bad.
is not good.
That means even mold won't eat it. If mold won't eat your food,
Your bread with
you
yeast in it.
shouldn't be eating it.
Yeah, because it might be contributing to a lot of your symptoms as well. But otherwise, whole foods, obviously, eat an apple, or perhaps I love to buy dried fruit too. You have to be careful because you don't want to eat too much of it because it is higher naturally in sugar content and it can be coated in sugar, which makes it taste then more like candy. Which we do have some of that on hand too.
Yep,
we
and
love dried mangoes.
And in defense of our dried mango addiction, I will say that eating a dried mango, even if it has some sugar on it, is better than eating a piece of candy.
Right.
So is it ideal? No.
It's satisfying though.
It is satisfying, and sometimes it is enough to prevent you from going to Dairy Queen or buying a bag of candy or whatever.
Or a candy bar. Yeah,
or a
I like
candy
to
bar.
keep really dark chocolate on hand, like 88%, and then I just have a small piece of that, which also has some nutrition in it.
We're
as well.
looking for quick snack foods for the kids because they're kids, right? And so we were at the store and I found a bag of dried apples, and I said, "Oh, I wonder what's going to be in here." And I looked at the ingredients and it said dried apples, nothing else. That's what you're looking for. It's not the list of 45 ingredients, right? Just dried apples.
Right. Or mixed nuts. I like to buy mixed nuts without peanuts in them, just because peanuts are more inflammatory. So mixed nuts, and then you check what type of oil is on
Because
those nuts.
peanuts are not a nut, by the way. They're a legume, right? They're not a nut. So we're
But
talking
they're
about
a
buying
peanut,
tree.
so-
We're trying to buy tree nuts.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was done with that. I was just
Okay.
mentioning checking out what oils are in your foods as well.
Right. So, you don't want to buy nuts that have been roasted in partially or fully hydrogenated soybean oil or something like
Right.
that. You want it to be a cold pressed oil. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about whole foods. That means foods that haven't been fractionated. So, if you're buying, as an example, egg whites in a carton, that's not a whole food.
No.
Eat the egg.
Look at the other ingredients.
And look
in
at the
that
other
carton.
ingredients. If you're
That's not a health
if
food.
you're buying, again, egg whites in a carton and it says it has carnitine
Mm-hmm.
and this and that and the other thing in it, that's not a whole food.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fractionated food. If you're buying white bread, that's a fractionated food. Most whole wheat breads are actually mostly white flour. That's
Mm-hmm.
not a whole food. So whole foods, and that means like a tomato is a whole food, but you know what? A sauce
Yeah.
is a whole food too because it's the whole tomato.
Yeah. Just watch it for sugar.
Watch it for sugar because a lot of tomato sauces will have a fair amount of sugar in them, so be careful with that. So a piece of protein, is it a piece of tofu? Is it a piece of steak? Whatever your choice, right? A piece of whole food protein, a piece of whole food carbohydrate, a piece of whole food fat, and healthy fat. And that can fresh. What is fresh or frozen is really the key. Canned is less ideal. So, in the real world, it'd be better if instead of buying canned stuff, you made your own stuff. That's perhaps difficult, but you can make tremendous variety with just chicken breasts and frozen vegetables. Because one night you can dice up the chicken breast and make, a quinoa chicken enchilada hot dish. And the next night it can be just...
You ate that the other night.
We did. And the next night it can be grilled chicken breast with grilled vegetables. And the next night it can be named
Right.
something else.
And
right?
to, obviously, okay, if you're going to have grilled chicken breasts every night and grilled vegetables, well, doesn't that start to taste the same after a while? And really, just by changing out those oils, like I discussed earlier, and then buying, some different varieties of different herbs, spices, seasonings. I prefer to do organic and really look at those two to make sure that there's nothing added in them. But if you have a couple of bottles of those on hand and you know, just kind of switch it out which ones you're using, it creates such a richer, more diverse flavor, and you're getting the nutrients from those herbs as well.
Absolutely. So, you know, that's really our take on, you know, I've put in a scientific paper on the topic. A friend of the group, CJ Coop, put in another paper on the topic of nutrition and immunity. So go back and look at those. Also, in my post this morning, there's a link to Forks Over Knives. That's a really interesting video he presented. So this is nutrition and immunity. And what does it boil down to? Whole food diet, lots of fiber, which means whole vegetables, basically, because plant matter, because that's high in phytonutrients and fiber that supports the microbiome, which is critical to health. So, how come what's tomorrow? Thursday? Tomorrow's Thursday, and Thursday is stress management. Right. Yeah. So this whole week is about the 5 modifiable lifestyle factors and immunity. So tomorrow we're talking about stress and immunity. All right.
Good morning, Jody.
And good morning, Jody. Yeah, you were hiding down here in the corner. I didn't see you until just now. Good morning. And all right. Anything else?
No, I think we filled up enough time, and we'll be on the same subject next week. So if there's ever any questions,
well, we'll be on nutrition, but a completely different aspect of nutrition next week. Yeah.
But overall, yes, nutrition.
Yeah. All righty. Until tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.